Left-leaning economists are having a debate right now about what the appropriate measure is of our level of indebtedness. For years now, we've been using debt to GDP as sort of a metric to guide, are we in a good place? Are we in a bad place? But now we've got this debate, among certain economists that that's not a good measure, and that instead we should be focusing on things that like net interest relative to revenues, or just focusing solely on the fact that interest rates are low at the current moment and that we really don't need to worry about the debt. So I'm curious to what you think about that debate and that argument, because it goes to the question of how do we explain the need to make changes in policy and to get our fiscal situation in order when we can't even agree on whether or not we've got a debt problem.
Well, you're touching on the new modern monetary theory, and which basically say that deficits and debt don't matter as long as you can borrow in your own reserve currency or print your own reserve currency, unless and until you have excess inflation. All right. Well, let me tell you my concerns about that. Number one, it's unproven. Number two, it's contrary to history. Number three, it's based upon a flawed comparison to Japan. Okay. Number four, it's likely to cause excess inflation if you follow it. And number five, which is my most significant concern, look, our politicians are already irresponsible. The last thing in the world that we need right now is some harebrained theory that basically says that you don't need to worry about anything because interest rates are artificially low right now, okay? Interest rates are not going to stay artificially low. Why are interest rates artificially low now? Because we are self-dealing in our own debt. The Federal Reserve is holding down interest rates. The Federal Reserve is buying new U.S. government debt. That is not a market-based system, all right? So, it's part of the problem with people want to do a lot of things and they don't want to pay for it. So they want to try to come up with crazy new theories to say you don't have to worry about it. And then when the bubble bursts, where are they?
Well, Dave, I want to, that's not a bad way to jump into your book.
Which it's a pretty good book, Bob.
Yeah, it's a real page turner.
For those who didn't see, Bob just raised the book up for the camera.
America in 2040, still a superpower with a question mark. So from what we were just talking about, elevating maybe from the weeds into the, I hope not the clouds here, but 30,000 feet. You cite some examples from history of republics that have risen and fallen and describe some characteristics. So drawing on your professorial experience now, what lessons from history do you think we should take and signs that alarm you?
Well, let's talk about a foreign one. Let's talk about a domestic message. A foreign one is the Roman Republic, the longest republic to stand, but it's gone now. And the empire succeeded the republic. And Rome failed for several reasons. One, fiscal irresponsibility, political incivility, moral decay, overextended military, and inability to control its borders. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah.
Let me talk about another one, Washington. Washington, when he left office, and he could have been reelected again if he wanted to, but he decided he set the president for 2 terms. He gave us 4 warnings: avoid excessive debt, avoid foreign wars, avoid regionalism, and avoid factionalism, which he defined as political parties. How are we doing on that? Not too well. Let's fast forward to today. We are facing a re-emerging superpower. That superpower is China. It once had the largest economy in the world. It once had the largest Navy in the world. And it now has the largest GDP based on purchasing power parity. It's passed us on the number of embassies in the world. It's number 2 militarily and dedicated to trying to pass us. And it's trying to spread its cultural influence. In addition to that, it's got a plan. We have no plan. This country has no strategic plan to try to focus on maintaining economic, diplomatic, military power and on improving things domestically. The growing gaps between the haves and the have-nots, the deteriorating infrastructure, and the sustainability challenges that we face, such as our fiscal challenge, such as our environmental challenge. We have no plan, and all we do is we look on an annual to annual basis, and we throw money at things, and we give tax preferences to things, and we don't even focus on what outcomes we're trying to achieve and whether or not we're achieving them. So there's a lot of lessons from history, and there's a lot of recent trends that we should be aware of and we should be doing something about. And if we do, we will remain a superpower in 2040, and our future will be better than our past. If we don't, our future is at risk.
Well, I want to follow up on that. You just threw a lot out there, Dave.
Being the youngest one in this group, Chase, you may have.
I'm footing the bill for all of this, no matter how you slice it. That and my 16-month-old son and Tori's kids. You paint in the book, at least just to kick things off, Dave, you paint kind of a bleak picture of what America could look like in 2040. What steps do you think need to be taken? And you sort of allude to this with the Fiscal Sustainability Commission, some of the things you just said, but if you laid out a roadmap on how to get us on a better path, what would it look like?
First, you need a plan. The federal government has no strategic plan. We need to recognize that what we're trying to do is we're trying to maintain our position in the world and improve our situation at home. We have no such plan. Okay. So you have to develop a plan. You have to be able to implement that plan. Okay. You need to recognize that you've got to be able to put your finances in order. And it's going to take some type of fiscal sustainability commission to be able to do that. Now, the book goes into a lot more than just fiscal issues. The book goes into immigration issues, environmental issues, infrastructure issues, and a variety of other things, many of which have fiscal implications, but not all of which have fiscal implications. Okay. So if you don't have a plan, all you have is prayer. I'm for prayer, but I'm for prayer and a plan. And if you don't end up putting your finances in order, then ultimately you're going to have major economic problems, both domestically as well as the ripple effect implications internationally. And the book is three things. It's a wake-up call, because you got to wake people up first. It's a call to action, and it's a way forward. And over half the book is a way forward. And that way forward is based primarily, but not exclusively, on what representative groups of the American people said they felt were reasoned and reasonable actions to take in order to help create a better future.